The portfolio assignment is really based on the idea of how do you get the information about what you believe in terms of working with families out to the families themselves. This is especially important for educators who are going to be working with families in a very limited capacity because they're not going to be visiting with you every week for many, many weeks. You want to get them some information about what to expect as quickly as you can. So the portfolio assignment is something we developed to try to do that. The idea behind it is that you're going to create essentially a website that is a portfolio of information about how you think about families and what expectations you have for families, so that while you're working with them, you can continue to be clear about what your job is there. So, in that, as it states in the Canvas site, you're going to have some beliefs about individuals and families, and these should be based in your theory, although it shouldn't say, my theory is X. It should just explain what you believe about families. This can also have a lot of personal stuff there. Depending on the job that you have, you're going to want to share more or less personal things. Who is in your family and how many people are in your family and what you like to do. If you're a teacher, those kinds of things are great. If you want to be a therapist, you probably want to leave a lot of that out. But you're going to essentially talk about the beliefs that you have about families and how to engage them in your workplace. You're going to talk to them about times in which you're going to interact. If you have plans to interact with them in the digital communication, emails and such, then explain that. If you have plans to interact with them only when problems arise, then explain that. The second part that you're going to have is you're going to have a belief about healthy and unhealthy families. Now, if you're an educator, this is really important. You don't want to put in there what you think causes families to be unhealthy, because as a teacher, it's really not your job to assess whether or not they are unhealthy, even though you know that there is struggles in every family. And so what I should be able to see from your description is what you believe healthy families are, and I should be able to infer that when that doesn't happen, that means it's unhealthy. So, for example, you could say, if you're working from a structural standpoint, you could say that healthy families adapt to changing situations. That would take a example for the principle of problems occur during times of transition when families can't adapt. If you're a human service person, you still want to articulate what healthy families, what strong families look like, but you also want to include information about what unhealthy families look like. And that doesn't mean that you diagnose unhealthy families. It means that you articulate where you think problems come from. This shouldn't be condescending. It shouldn't be something that makes the families feel pathologized. It should just be an articulation of, I think family struggles come when families are faced with new challenges and they can't adapt to those new challenges. So that would be a good example of that structural idea of where problems come from. And so you're going to articulate healthy families, and if you're human service, also unhealthy families. Then you want to articulate, and maybe this is the most important part, you want to articulate about how help and change is going to look working with you. And this is in terms of what you plan on doing to help families and how you see change, and that you see change as something that is both related to the subject that you're focused on, but also related to their family. So if you're an educator, you might say that you believe that when kids struggle with some academic challenges like reading or math, that families can be a big part of overcoming that challenge, but at the same time, as they're working on the challenge of reading, they can also work on strengthening and building up their family. So your job isn't to build families, but your job is to help address needs, and you think family is an important way to do that. And the ripple effect is that it will help the family be stronger and closer as a group. So you're going to put your beliefs about help and your beliefs about change and what that means and what that looks like. And then finally, you're going to have a page that just says resources for families. And these are going to be things that they can access to get help, whether it's things like national hotline information, a link to another website, phone numbers for the Lincoln Public Schools district office that helps families. It doesn't matter what the focus is. What matters is that you figure out a way to blend in with this site that you're going to be doing a lot of resources and supporting the families in their own growth and experiences. So that's really a summary. Don't overthink the articulation of things. Make sure that you're writing everything in a way that families can understand, that doesn't seem full of jargon, that doesn't seem full of complex principles, but it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy for somebody, regardless of their education level, to look through and kind of understand how you're going to work with them and how you're going to support them as a family. I hope that explains things. If that doesn't explain things and the rubric and the explanation in Canvas don't explain things, send me an email with a specific question and I'll answer you directly. And if it's something that I think the rest of the group could probably benefit from, I'll push it out to the group as well.